Hello everyone, bine ați venit, eu sunt pisicul meu, and yeah, I've not posted a video in like 4 months. And UK is under lockdown at the moment, so if you look at me now compared to how I was in my last video, it's like night and day. In my last video, I'm like, freshly shaven, freshly haircutted for a video. But now I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on here and what's going on here. I'm just going with it. And part of just going with it during this lockdown is I wanted to improve my iPhone portraits. So landscapes are out of the question, right? So like I have a single lens iPhone 10R, and in order to like improve my portraits, take them to the next level, like I wanted to get a 2x magnification telephoto lens. So I have this one from Apexel. It's the APL HD5T HD cell phone lens, and it's one of the cheapest on the market. It's £21.98 that I paid for this, and despite its very, very low price, it makes some quite remarkable claims about its performance, about its image quality. So let's see if it lives up to its own hype. Its feature list is even longer and more excessive and incredulous than its name is. It promises like it's made of cinema grade glass, which I highly doubt. Like cinema lenses are so expensive that like Hollywood production companies rent them instead of buying them. So cinema grade glass in a £20 lens, I highly doubt. It promises edge to edge sharpness, minimum chromatic aberration, and it promises to save me from perpetual pixelation, which I don't even know what that is. It also says it will overcome shortcoming of camera cell phone that can only nearsighted and make distant view for you. And while I'm choosing the Apexel lens, I will learn how to effectively and creatively use telephoto lens to improve my photography skills and shooting of character things. Long distance shooting techniques takes your photos to the next level, apparently. Now, when it comes to actually attaching the lens to your phone, they provided a clip. Now, Apexel are very proud of this clip. They say its design was inspired by a locomotive, which makes it very beautiful. And yeah, they're right. The clip is it's quite nice looking. It's made of metal. It feels heavy, feels premium, really sturdy. It has this rubber on the inside, so it does fit like really nicely, really tightly to the notoriously slippery iPhone 10R. And this crossline knurling on the screw head, it just combines to just make it quite a nice clip. They are really keen to point out as well how compatible this thing is. So they list all the usual suspects like iPhone, Samsung Galaxy, Google Pixel, Huawei, Xiaomi, and they say that it will work with most phones. I've only got a couple of models here. Got my iPhone 10R and my iPhone SE, and the clip is compatible with both of those. Now with the 10R, I do have this really thick protective case, and I have had to take the phone out of the case in order to fit the clip onto it. But with the SE, the case is rubber, it's a lot thinner, so the clip does fit on there. And just bear that in mind, you will have to take any thicker cases off your phone and shoot with your phone exposed to the elements while you're shooting. And once it's in place on your phone, the issues become immediately apparent with this maximum compatibility approach. So you'll see on the full screen 10R, the clip does actually cover up the control center and blocks some functions while you're in camera apps. There are some workarounds to having functions blocked by the clip. So usually when you rotate your phone, like the placement of some buttons does change so you can access them. And to get to control center, you can again turn the phone on its side, open a native iPhone app like the Photos app, and then drag down from the new top right. So there are workarounds to this issue, and it also does get in the way when you're taking selfies as well, which is not that big a deal for me. A much bigger headache though with this clip is the effect it has on image quality. So yes, the clip does affect image quality, because going down this maximum compatibility route does mean that the lens doesn't perfectly align with the iPhone's camera module. And when it's not perfectly aligned, the phone just can't focus whatsoever. All the pictures just look completely blurry. You'll see from the examples, no matter where you tap to focus, if the lens isn't aligned, then the pictures just aren't going to be usable. Now, at first I just thought, well, this is a rubbish lens. This lens is just really poor quality. And it was only later when I was doing some more tests that I found out that the clip has to be like perfectly aligned. And I found the best way to do that is to lay the phone like perfectly flat, install the clip, install the lens, and then just like loosen the clip slightly, look down the barrel of the lens and just adjust it very, very slightly to make sure that it's perfectly aligned in the center. And then you're going to have to take some test shots just to see that it is actually perfectly aligned. And once it is, you can just tighten it up like perfectly tightly, and the clip is really sturdy, so it shouldn't move, it shouldn't knock the lens out of alignment, because once the lens is in alignment, the image quality is actually really good. But before I continue talking about like the lens's performance, I need to point out that this isn't actually a lens, it's a teleconverter. The iPhone already has a lens on it, and a teleconverter is just a device. You can get them for DSLRs as well. They magnify your focal length. You might hear them called extenders or magnifiers or multipliers, something like that. And there are certain trade-offs that come with teleconverters, and one of them is image quality. And while that is the case here, the image quality does degrade a tiny, tiny bit. It actually performs really well, surprisingly well. I actually like the look of this slightly less sharper photos that you get with this, because the iPhone tends to over sharpen sometimes, and phone pictures can give themselves away as phone pictures. They do have that over sharpened look. So I like the look, the slightly less sharper look that this produces. The pictures look more natural to me. Also, as teleconverters magnify an image, the maximum aperture decreases, which reduces the amount of light coming in. And I found that the 10R, I don't know if this would happen on all phones, but the 10R was overcompensating for this, but only in like bright situations. I found that it would way overexpose them, and I kept having to adjust the exposure compensation. I used the iPhone's native camera app in all of my tests, so the only option I had was exposure compensation. It's not a major issue, but it does slow your shooting down, and you do have to be aware of it. And also another issue with a teleconverter can be slower autofocus, because there isn't as much light coming in, the lens isn't as fast. And I found that with the teleconverter attached, the iPhone's focus does become rather inconsistent. So 1 minute it's instant, and then the next minute it doesn't hunt, but it just takes a second to register and adjust the focus. Now, I thought this might be a potential issue for me, because I have got this lens to improve my portraits, to take my portraits to the next level, while I can't do landscapes and things like that. And that's because I use portrait mode on the iPhone, which relies solely on facial recognition to work, and it needs highly accurate, highly precise and quick autofocus to track the subject. And thankfully, it actually has worked really well. It's still able to track and lock on to people, and it hasn't degraded my experience using portrait mode. And portraits do look really nice with this thing, because with the 2x magnification, I'm able to get further back, so I can get my same composition without the distortion, so the portraits do look nicer. And as for depth of field, despite the decrease in the maximum aperture, it still looked like pleasingly shallow, so that complements the magnified field of view really nice. And it seems that, yeah, once the lens is aligned, Apexel deliver on their image quality promises. The only thing that, like, curiously, they don't seem to deliver on is the fundamental characteristic of the lens, which is the 2x magnification. In my tests, I noticed that by 2x digital zoom looked much closer than the lens. And when I did some further testing, it actually looked closer to 1.6 times magnification. Apexel even claimed that, I think it might be a mistake, but this is a 2.5x as well. So it's definitely not 2.5x. It's barely even a 2x, and for me it looks like a 1.6x magnification. And I'm not willing to give Apexel the benefit of the doubt with this, because unfortunately, like, misleading advertisement seems to be a theme with them, because like theft and deceit isn't something that you want to be talking about in a product review, but unfortunately I have to mention it. So I was looking through the photographs on the Amazon listing and on the box that the lens comes in, and I was thinking, these pictures look too good to be true. And yeah, unfortunately it turns out that it is too good to be true. So a quick reverse image search and a look at the EXIF data of this one reveals that it was actually taken by a Romanian photographer named Andrei with a Sony A7 Mark II, which was a professional mirrorless camera that costs like $1,699 for the body when it was new in 2014. And at first I thought, well, maybe they've just licensed this photo off him. Yes, it's deceitful to use a photo taken with this type of camera to advertise your lens's quality, but maybe they've licensed the photo. And no, I contacted Andrei and he had no idea that Apexel were using his photo. So yeah, good luck to him for getting them to hopefully take it down, and if they don't, then at least giving him some compensation for using his work. His work's actually really good. I definitely, if you're into portraits and photography, you should definitely follow him on Instagram. I then discovered that this photograph was taken with a Canon 5D Mark II by Marie, a French-Canadian photographer, back in December 2013. And finally, like, this image returned way too many results, so it's probably a stock image, but you can guarantee it definitely wasn't taken with this lens. Now, it's common practice for smartphone advertisements to use professional photographers, professional models, extra hardware, extra software to like show the best of what their product can do. I don't fully agree with it, but at least the product itself was involved in creating the images seen in the advertisements. But in this case, Apexel has just straight up stolen these photographs and lied about what their product can do. So despite this deceptive and dishonest and dishonorable behavior, this theft, I actually do recommend this teleconverter. For £20, this does actually provide surprisingly pleasing results for a teleconverter in its price range with one of these clips. It comes with all the compromises and caveats that you would expect from a teleconverter. So if you enjoy like making portraits, or you just want a tighter field of view, a tighter crop with your photos, and you don't mind incorporating some of the workarounds that come with it, like, you know, rotating the phone, having to adjust the exposure compensation and the maybe slightly not as advertised magnification, and having to spend the time aligning the lens to make sure that it's perfect, I think it's definitely worth a look at £20. If you do want the benefits of a teleconverter without the caveats and compromises of a clip, then you can go the pricier option, the more optimized option of getting a lens that comes with an integrated case. These can be a bit pricier, like I said, but they should give you a better user experience. I'm going to be able to test it out for myself because I've just ordered one from Ulanzi, a lens and a case. So I will continue to use this one until that one comes, and then I'll decide which one I want to be using for the future. So I haven't uploaded a video in like 4 months, and now you're probably going to get like 2 in one go because people keep subscribing to my channel, and I'm very aware that there's no content actually being uploaded or being made. So thanks for watching my video, and I will actually back it end.